Right? Okay, so we're going to be interviewing Chris Adamo here, and he just asked me a question that I love this story because it's one of a little bit of a roller coaster. So at Balloon Boss, he asked how the Balloon Guild got started or how
Yeah,
long
yeah.
until we pushed play on it. Balloon Boss Summit a year and some change ago. Um, oh sweet Jesus, Jeff, what's his name? I can't think of his name. Um, brain
Jeff
is
from Master Labs?
Yes. Yeah.
Jeff.
He was giving a little talk and he mentioned something about the word subscription. And
Hmm.
up until that point, I had always had the idea like, making a book or whatever, but I don't want to make a book. I don't want to sell one book to one person and then never be able to sell it to him again. Um,
Hmm.
so as a business, it just wasn't very appealing to me. But then he used the word subscription, and a couple people's like, you need to think about that. And so the rest of that my time there for the next few days was shopping the idea to everybody who was there and getting some feedback. And it's this thing that started growing and growing. And Sarah
Yep,
Meyer's one of the people who I talked to about it.
yep,
So then, like 3 days after we get home, and again, this is like an idea that I'm feeling like is just this little ball of gold. Plus, it
mm,
has a lot of meaning and potential to help a lot of people. So I'm super pumped about it. And I'm also not wanting to like throw it out there until I'm ready to start moving on it. And Sarah asked in a Facebook group, hey, wasn't somebody asking about blah, 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 blah? And then
yep.
somebody else said, yeah, I think that was John Fudge, who wasn't even at this Balloon Boss Summit.
But also at the same time, I have been selling recipes, building recipes, putting together this stuff on my own, separate and apart, something
No
very, very
way.
similar.
Yeah,
And so that's why they tagged me because they knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
yep.
And I thought this dream that I had was crashing down because it was given away to somebody else. But John and I are
Hmm.
friends. So I just gave him a
Hmm.
call, said, hey, heads up, this is what I was thinking. And he's like, well, why don't we just do it together? We've been looking for a
Hmm.
project to work on together. Why don't we just make this it? And
Yep.
within a month, we had a website up and
Yeah.
had the ball rolling pretty.
And okay, well then, Mr. Fudge, how long ago did you think about this idea?
So I started with a company that actually, it's funny because Gerber and I both started with a company, but I started thinking about it starting with a company that taught balloon twisters to go restaurant to restaurant. And I was planning on
Hmm.
some twisting side, very, very similar. And then I kind of
Yep.
moved away from that and then moved to the decor and then started selling recipes. Because the
Hmm.
thing I love the most are the logistics and figuring out all the boring stuff that everybody hates. And I love the
Hmm.
math. And I love knowing that there is a right and a wrong. And I
Yep.
love getting the art out of it and just making it a thing. And so I'm
Because
like,
I see your YouTube videos pop up from forever ago. You know, like you've created a whole lot of content back then. I guess content creation was always in your blood.
yeah. So I've always loved it and always done something different. But I said it took us 7 days to put this together with Gerber and I, as
Yeah.
is. But I mean, obviously, we've been refining it. But I've been
Yeah.
thinking about this project for 3 years and just haven't been
Mm.
able to work on it. And I
Yep.
do so much as a business owner by myself that I did not want to pull a trigger until I had someone to work with. So really,
Mm.
his call was a
Okay.
blessing. Was
Yep. Yep.
based on his schedule and my schedule. If either one of us tried to do this on our own, we would not be giving a good service to our Balloon Guild
Mm.
subscribers because I've
Yep.
been busy, he's been busy. But when we're
Yep.
together, able to go back and forth and work with each other, we're able to do a whole lot more. And now we have a team of people that are working with us, and there's other guild members that are working with us.
Yep.
People like yourself that come on. It just makes it
Well,
so much better.
congratulations. It's a wonderful resource. It's to be honest, the reason I asked that question because I sort of had an idea like this a million years ago as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought about how much work was involved. Yeah. So it takes two very organized, very sort of motivated people to do it. So well done, and thank you for having me on.
Cool.
It's very exciting to meet like-minded people.
All right. So you are in what place in the world? Just for those who may not know, they live
Yeah.
on a rock or something. I don't know.
Sydney, Australia. Currently, it's 7 in the morning. You got me up a little earlier than I wanted, but I've got a coffee and I'm ready to
Appreciate
go.
it. Alrighty.
Just trying to find a time that works with everybody is tough, huh?
Yeah, especially when you're on opposite time, right? Does it make it hard for a bunch of stuff? Or
Yeah. It's, unfortunately, we're just sort of polar opposites to Europe and America. But it's fun. Yeah, I got a lot of friends who do 1 o'clock to 2 a.m. sort of business meetings with Europe and whatever. And you've been very accommodating. So yeah, 7 a.m. is very respectful. I appreciate that.
yeah, no worries. So, how did you get started in the world of latex?
Yeah, look, I love asking people this question myself. Like, I know my story, and I love. We were just chatting a second ago that we're all going to float, and that's one of my favorite things is sitting down next to people and having a coffee and just hearing their story because it's quite unique, isn't it? Everyone's
Yeah.
own journey. Very few people, Tommy is one of the only exceptions Tommy DiLorenzo, who as a kid wanted to be a balloon guy. Most people sort of stumble into it. So that was no exception with me. My mother was a florist when I was a kid. I remember being, 8, 9, 7 years old, going to the flower markets with her very early. I would catch a bus after school and go to her shop. She had 3 shops at one point, and clean buckets. And, I'd deliver flowers on Valentine's Day by foot because I couldn't drive. And so I was always a part of that. My dad was a developer, and there was always business being discussed at the breakfast and dining tables. She, in the 90s, very early 90s, started doing balloons, flowers and balloons. It was called Balloons and Blooms, which was difficult to quickly answer the phone. So that was that introduction. In fact, she's taught in Chicago. What was it called? IBAC. Apparently,
Oh,
in the 90s, she taught for some kind of basic balloon stuff back then. And she was quite heavily involved in the flower industry. She was president of Interflora and blah, blah, blah. She sold her business in 2000. At the time, I was studying computing science at university. First year, hated it. Like, I didn't mind it. I was good at computers, right? And this is back to how we stumble into this industry. We bring something with us, right? Everybody has some sort of a skill. Mine at the time was small business and IT, right? So I quit computing science. I worked in web design for a bit, did that for 3 months, ended up hating being behind a computer all day. It wasn't who I am. I've got a little bit of ADHD, which, as it turns out, is about 80% of our industry, maybe more. And so I couldn't be behind a computer, and I thought to myself, well, this is actually, I'm going a year before my mother sold her business. I worked for her a little bit, traveled, she sold it, and then here I am going, well, now what? And I knew that balloons could make money. I had the cheat sheet. I saw it firsthand, and I knew I liked it. And so it was, I wanted to start a business of my own. Either it was going to be web design or a balloon business. And to me, it was a no-brainer. So I bought a van, and this is 2001, the end of 2001. And I built my own website, worked from home. Now, just to sort of backtrack a little bit, during the mid 90s, I built a online store for my mother, right, for her business, and it was Australia wide. So we would sell balloon bouquets and flowers to the capital cities of Australia, and we would literally facsimile the orders. We'd print it out, we would fax it to whoever the partner was that were working at the time. In fact, one of them was a guy called Jean-Michel Louis, who is famous for creating the Linkaloon. He designed the Linkaloon and sold it to Sempertex, one of Guido's idols. When Guido Verhulf visited the USA, America, Australia, I have a coffee. When he visited Australia, like visiting Jean-Michel Louis was like a holy shrine for him. The father of the Linkaloon. Anyway, so the reason why I say that is, so 1995, 96 is when I developed my first online store for the industry. And that then had legs, and that was a big part of my journey in this industry with online order relay businesses, because that developed into many different forms, which ended up, fast forwarding a little bit there, 2006, I bought balloons.com.au and built a new website, and we created an online Australia-wide distribution network, retail that was huge. I shut it down a year ago, and we'll get to that. That's sort of, we don't want to jump too far.
Yeah.
But do you want me to just keep going? This is a long
Hey,
tale. Like, people need
I'm
to
in
stop and
trance.
breathe.
It could be your accent or the story itself. It's all good.
Everyone's got a great story, Like I
Yeah, for
love
sure.
listening to people's stories. Yeah.
So do you have siblings?
Yes. Yes. So I'm the youngest of four.
Okay.
Um, and it's a real mixed bag. I've got my eldest is my sister. She left Sydney and at 15 went and studied in Trieste, Italy, at the United World College. Dated a gazillionaire for a while and then started a fashion business, all this crazy stuff, right? And she's back in Sydney with kids, settled. My eldest brother is a developer. He worked at M&A for like one of the biggest mining engineering companies, traveling the world and doing all this stuff. Another brother is a lawyer, ended up an Anglican minister. He's married to a North Carolinian, currently living in Denmark, right? And then there's little old me. So it's funny. There was this part of me who, for many years, I've got this lawyer brother, this other brother, and corporate, just killing it. And here I am, just sort of, desiring to make basic income selling balloons. Come on, Dad, be proud of me. And it's funny how it turned around. I didn't. I had that little bit of a chip on my shoulder, trying to follow their footsteps. And we've all done very different things since. But it's funny how the years have passed and they couldn't be prouder. With the stuff that I've managed to achieve in this industry, I'm very, very proud of, and it's quite diverse. And it's amazing how the simple product of the balloon can take someone into a journey that I never expected.
Yeah. So is your mother still around? What does she think
Yeah,
about?
yeah. Mum and dad are still around. They live close. They're retired. She hasn't worked really since she sold in 2001. Dad still does little developments and flipping plates. Yeah, they're loving life. They're on cruise ships and having the best time. She did well, and proved to me, at such an early age, just how successful small business can. And I was one of those kids who was reading like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like all that stuff. I was big into Anthony Robbins, and I was always a big fan of the self-help books. Not Get Rich Quick, but self-help. Sort of aligning myself. This is at age 15, 16. I knew very early on. I was a kid who would sort of climb up in the local golf course and find balls and sell them on a Saturday morning to the golfers at 6:30, a.m. And I drove a boat to school. Weird story, but a little boat, and I would end up picking people up on the way, and they'd get given $1.50 for the ferry, and I'd charge them 50 cents, and I'd end up with like $7 every morning to spend on pies and chocolate milk. And so I always had an entrepreneurial vein in me. And I just needed a medium to be able to exercise that. And there's a couple of things about me. So IT, I love construction, I love building, I love sort of engineering thinking. I never thought myself to be very creative. It was never something in my DNA at the time. And I like telling this part of the story because you don't have to be creative to work in a creative field. I find what we do is actually quite mathematical and geometrical, and it's something that can be broken down into systems. And through the process of just creating, just trial and error, and looking back on it and feedback, and just that loop of why was it wrong, right? If we apply the golden rule and all this sort of great stuff that we learn in design theory, you can then systematically work out why it was wrong, right? And that muscle of creativity actually develops. It doesn't have to be innate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, that's interesting. Did your brothers and sisters work also with your mother
Yep.
or okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. They were delivering balloons and Valentine's Day, and helping out where they can, work part time. It's a great part time gig, to I was Sandy at age 12, 13, which means I was the guy in the back making the sandbag weights.
Okay.
Yeah. I tell my staff, no matter how junior they are, no matter what they've done, I'm like, everything we're going to ask you to do, I've done.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you started in 2001. You said you just bought a
Yep.
van and created a
Mm-hmm.
website and then went to town. So at that time, you were
Yep.
working out of your house. Were you still at your
Mm-hmm.
mom's?
Yeah, yeah, my parents' place. They had a little carport, like a shed. It was split between two streets, so we had one spot. And I got to say, getting helium tanks delivered down that driveway wasn't fun.
Yeah.
But then within a year, I'd saved up enough money, and this is why we had a GFC, right? We had a global financial crisis because banks lent money to people like me, and I bought myself a property. Literally, I borrowed 95% of the money, and I bought a property that's only about an 8 minutes, well, 6, 7 minute drive to Sydney CBD. This is a city of 5 million people, so it's really close, really local to the heart of the city. And I bought a place that had a residence above and a shop, and I'm still there today. About 10 years ago, we got the spot next door. But to be able to own the bricks and mortar that we have meant I could transform it into the space that we want and really double down in being grounded in that spot. It's probably 70 square meters. So I don't know, square feet. You times it by three or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
somewhere.
Yeah, so it's not huge, but it's big enough. So we've doubled that since. So we're looking at about 140 square meters. And we've got a workshop now, and it's still a retail store. So it's a bricks and mortar retail store that we've been there for 21, 2, 3, nearly 23, yeah, 22 years, because I bought it the year after, um, which pays dividends to be that reliable source. There was about six competing businesses, party shop slash balloon people. We're not a party shop, we're just balloons, but people that you could go pick up balloons from within a 20-minute drive when I started, or as we'd gone through the first few years. And we're the one left, the only one left. And the reason why is we diversified. We didn't just rest on our laurels of retail and basic decor. We do bloody everything, and that's the journey that I'm sure many of us feel is, and some would say specialize. Me specializing was just cutting out every other product. I see you've got like frames behind you there, Jonathan. We don't even do rentals, right? It is just 100% balloons, but in every form within.
Cool. So, how much traffic do you have coming in the door then? Because you said brick and mortar, people stop by to pick up bouquets and stuff
Yep.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. I heard Sarah Meyer's Bright Balloon podcast talking about grab and go garlands through whatever the software she uses. And I believe that there was a limit that you could only choose one product on her software for collection, or there was some sort of limitation. We through the and I should probably talk about the website a little more, but through our website you could also order for pickup, and that sort of happened during COVID. And I wish I did it earlier, but for the ability for people to order pre-inflated stuff to collect from our store, being so central, we're on a pretty busy road, and people pass through on their way through to their event. It's fantastic. I love customers just ordering online, pick and choosing, doing their own research through our website. And this is balloons.net.au, I should say. And so to answer your question, customers that come in unannounced, probably on a Saturday, 20, 15, weekdays, 5, 6, not heaps. It's not enough to pay the rent. It sort of pays for one staff,
Yeah.
but it's just convenient to, if we're going to have stock, if we're going to have staff, we might as well just be open for public, right? We're there anyway. A lot of me throughout the years has wanted to get a warehouse and close the door and not have to deal with regular times. But rather than going to that extreme, during COVID and after COVID, we actually shrunk our hours. We closed Mondays. We're open 9:30 till 3, so we can do some deliveries in the morning, do some deliveries in the afternoon. If it's just you, right? I've got now 5 staff, but nonetheless, we still want the flexibility. And it condensed the hours. So rather than someone coming in at 5 on the dot wanting to spend half an hour with us, they come in at 3, and we can still give them a little bit of time because we're all working our 8-hour shifts. But I know I'm bouncing around the place a little
Oh, it's
bit.
all good.
But let me sort of go back to the website stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So balloons.com.au, it was the sort of the third online store I had built. This is the first time I got it commercially made through a company. And it cost a bit of money, but we ended up having 28 partners around Australia who, some of them we provided 50 to 60% of their income through sales. And it's similar to Balloon Planet, right? Now that's balloons.com.au, balloons.net.au. I always kept separate because I wanted to separate our store in Sydney and the work that we did, especially when organics started to come along, and that sort of desire or need for a bespoke boutique, beautiful brand, right? Which to me is different to the McDonald's that we had with, we called it Balloons Online, which was balloons.com.au, which was, can I have a Big Mac and a Coke and, you know, a large or a medium? Yeah, we really systematized the product line over here, but that wasn't appropriate for, you know, the very bespoke work that we're doing with organics, because as you may or may not know, like organics hit Australia first, and I was one of the first people to do it. In fact, I still believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that I was the first person to teach organics in the USA, which was Float Convention 2017 or 16, or it was a masterclass. Do you remember that one?
I think I do actually. And I
Yeah, I
think
think
about
so. I'm
that
gonna
when
I'm gonna
I
claim
teach.
it
Yeah, because
until.
you had, so I model how I teach off of that, where you had part of it built. You showed how
Mhm.
to build part of it, you had part of it built, and then you had the rest of it built. You just need to put it together. So you didn't waste a whole class blowing up 200 balloons.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
and people do that.
no, they don't. But
Yeah, yeah.
whenever you're not taking a class on how to teach properly and you're just figuring
Mm.
it out, I noticed when I took that class of yours that that was a very effective way to teach a big project in a very quick manner.
Yeah, cool, cool. Yeah, that was great fun, and we did a huge class at WBC as well. I think we had 150 people per class, 2 classes back to back. It was just, you know, manic. But it was a lovely journey. I remember a client. I know here we're going bouncing completely the other way, but a client asked us in 2014 or something for a floral arbor, right, which was an arch, and the flowers sort of came up and it was dense, it was thick, and it cantilevered over and it thinned and tapered. He said, I want this, but with balloons, right? And what I find interesting is this is one of the most well-known stylists in Sydney at the time. There was no photo reference of an organic half arch made of balloons. There was no reference. So we literally, and I've got a photo. I got to share it one day. This horrible thing, right? It was like all 11-inch, different sizes. It was so bad. You could see the oval shape and everything. And she loved it. It was great. And it was balancing. We had helium on the end to stop it falling down. And then we sort of refined that and refined it. And we started to do a few more things. Tina Giunta in Melbourne and Sarah Courtney, a company called Bell Balloons, started to do their own thing. And we could, oh, that's great. And there was this small little triangle of some sharing of what became organics. And then it just really like exploded. So it was a huge honor to be there at the start, because that transformed our business. And that's why we needed that other website. We always had the domain, but that's why we changed the name from, it was literally Balloons on the Net
Oh,
to the Balloon Crew, right? It was sexy. It meant something. It was like, you know, we were dealing with stylists for the first time who saw our product as you know, something desirable, you know, as something that you know, would create you know, a cool image that people wanted to be associated to. It was you know, aspirational. And a balloon column with a 3 foot topper wasn't doing that, right? So it was so lovely. It was before chrome was out there. I was putting confetti, 1 centimeter confetti in every single balloon to make 10 meters of organics, just to try out with different techniques. And I was spraying, leaves and pushing the boundaries. The first giant PVC orb I got from a bouncing castle manufacturer in China back in 2018. And I was including and integrating, 2 meter giant silver orbs within our organics. And look at it now. That's just taken off. So it was lovely to be at the forefront of really pushing textures and anagram orbs and star points and all kinds of stuff, mixing it all up. So yeah, the balloon crew was really reinvented. And it's a very competitive market now. We still have our clients. We still do a lot of great work. But I feel like the Renaissance, right? The
Yeah.
golden era is over. And now it's bread and butter.
Mm-hmm. So, two things I'll share with you. One, I have used you as I have friends all over the world. I know this guy in Australia. This is before I ever really even talked to you, but I already knew that I could message you and that you
Yep.
might reply. So when I'm
Oh, cool.
selling products to my clients, or when a client sends me some weird thing, um, it makes me sound cool, I feel like, to my
Yeah,
client.
yeah, yeah.
I want my
I do the
clients
same.
think that we're a very cool company that, yeah, they can do it. This dude knows everybody, like
Yep.
have a design that I think I saw you do it. And I like to say, oh, I brought this style from Australia. It's just balloons, right? But I try to, make it sound cool. I call it the hunky Australian. And it's it's just clear balloon organics with
Yeah.
clear 260s coming out with neon
Yeah.
LED lights running all through it. It looks
Okay. I remember
really cool. Yeah.
you mentioned that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you either told me at Float or via message, and I was so honored that and I remember the name now.
So
You've
fun.
embarrassed me twice. Well done. See, I
Yep.
can forget stuff from time to time, so now I've had to go through that whole cycle of. But
Yeah.
that was I didn't even give that a name. We use like 350 clears and stuff as well. But yeah, that was really like peak just trying stuff, right?
Yeah.
You had RGB lighting through it, right? Like
Yes, I did.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That was really cool.
So, yeah, so I
And
definitely advise everybody out there who now has got to meet Chris. You have a friend in Australia. If it makes you sound cooler to your clients, use it. They're never going to call you out on that. But oh, if I
yeah,
don't know how to do something, I know people all over the world who can help me out. And
yeah.
it's a true statement too. So,
And I tell my friends, I'm like, you guys have no idea when I go to balloon conventions, what it's like to meet and make friends from literally every corner of the world.
yeah.
So you can travel somewhere. And I remember this quite vividly, actually. It didn't happen, unfortunately. But so my brother got married in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I wanted to go huge with balloons as a gift, right? I wanted to create this giant balloon cloud. That's another thing. The cloud, like that was something that I really loved doing. And that was one of the first sort of introductions to that medium. It's giant balloon cloud in it. But I thought to myself, well, look, I won't have heaps of time. I don't have the gear. Let me put a post out and see if there's anyone available. And I literally had about 10 people put their hand up who some I'd sort of met, some I'd never met, but just through this wonderful, network and social media that we all have and the willingness to give and collaborate in this industry. Can you imagine being a dentist or a builder or anything,
Right.
a painter and put your hand up in some sort of social group and people just willingly want to collaborate and work. This is why the big balloon build is so successful. It's just sort of really capitalized on this beautiful nature that everyone in this industry had. And for some reason, it's so unique that it's this industry that people are giving and collaborative. But anyway, my brother toned it down and he didn't want a giant balloon cloud. So I felt bad for getting some people excited. But yeah, I've managed to teach in you know 5, 6, 7 different countries, and when you do that, you get to be introduced to that city by people that live there who call this country home, and you get to really experience the culture and the flavor of a place. And I never expected to have dear friends all around the world from such diverse backgrounds. So it's been a real honor.
Cool. Okay, so your business, you have walk-in customers and then you do deliveries. Now, maybe I didn't hear you right. Do you only do deliveries at certain times of the day, or do you deliver when the client needs them in their window of time for their event or whatever?
Yeah. Now, funnily enough, I'm going to answer that question, but let's get back to this if we wish, because I've a year and a half ago, ish, I closed down balloons.com.au. Now, the reason I did that was I tried to have it rebuilt. It was about a 7-year-old piece of software, and I had this grand vision. And I think Fudge and I spoke about this. I'm not sure, but I wanted to grow it internationally, right? I wanted to use the IP, right, and the systems and everything. And to me, this is like this fork on the road. Like this could be my life, right? This amazing online retail space for the balloon industry. That was yeah. Anyway, I spent up to 200,000, over 200,000 Australian dollars getting a new business built, a new website, new software to spec with all of the wish lists and all of the learnings that I've had over the years. The first 100,000 was with a company in Russia who I just kept pouring money at it, and I wasn't getting what I want, so I had to cut it off. Bad call, maybe choosing them. You got to take the risk. I paid them to do a sample bid. I was really happy with it. And we slowly, you know what I mean? Like you sort of feel comfortable with it. You're never going to meet someone. And, I've got a couple of friends who are developers. They're like, I'm not touching it. It's too hard. So I had to find someone cold. Anyway, the next person was someone I kind of did know. And he just couldn't do it either. Like I just kept burning money, and I had to just call it. And it was a very like horrible part of my journey in this industry. I got quite depressed because A, I've wasted all this money, right? But B, I had to give up on my dream, right? This is 2 years ago when I made the decision. And as such, I had to close down what was existing, which hurt a lot of people because, like I said, these people in Australia, it was a big part of their income source. But we were getting hacked. The code was horrible, and it wasn't device friendly. Blah 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 blah. So coming back to your question, we're getting there. So I decided, well, look, let me just focus. This dream, this business plan was hatched 20 years ago, right? I never thought, for example, that organics would have been what it is, because that's really helped propel my business in a completely different direction. I'm more on the tools than ever before, and we'll get to that. But I don't mind it, to be honest. And I don't mind the life of not having this big giant thing, because that has big giant problems as well. Anyway, so I built my own website in WordPress, right, for balloons.net.au. And there's a whole bunch of plugins and everything. It's a very difficult sort of path, but because I had a web design experience, graphic design experience, and I sort of knew where we wanted to be, we had heaps ready to go. So balloons.net.au is a really well systematized piece of software, really, through a bunch of plugins. So one plugin in particular that I've been playing with recently, it's called like Delivery Date Pro or something, where you can specify if it's a pickup or a delivery, right, based on the delivery zones. And those zones are like zip codes, in areas. So of course, there's areas we can't deliver to, but then there are areas that are close, which will deliver on a Monday, but not a Sunday. There's others we'll do just Tuesday to Saturday. And then within each sort of bunch of zones, you can choose what time you may want to offer. So it could be a pickup between this time and this time. It could be a delivery between 7 and 9, and it'll have an extra cost. Or it could be an afternoon delivery, but it'll have a smaller extra cost because it's a little bit annoying, but not completely annoying. And then we can get really busy, but we know we're going to the west of Sydney, so we'll lock off everything else, but we'll keep that one zone available. It's so much flexibility that will then sort of guide the customer and restrict it based on what we want. And that sort of customization and control was never available with our old site. It certainly is not available with any existing platform I've seen to date. But through this extra plugin, which costs a bit of money, I've managed to really take the reins back. Before, for instance, we had the ability just to on or off, like the online store was off for that date or on, you're at. So pickups, customers couldn't order, they'd have to call us. Why won't it? And now all of a sudden 10 minutes, 15 minutes of my staff is now held up because we didn't have a smart enough system. So it's been a great sort of case study, and I'd be happy to share it in more depth. But I've finally got the website I want for me, and and it's working really well. Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a lot more private customers than corporate, would you say? Or
Yeah. Hey man, we got everything.
okay,
So when we say corporate, we have relationships with some of the biggest mobile phone companies in Australia. So one example, a couple of years ago, we dealt with the big three, the Vodafone, Telstra, and Optus. You probably don't know, Vodafone, I'm sure. Um, and there was a new iPhone or something launch, and we sold $260,000 in a day, right? But this is Australia wide, right? So it's simple columns with 3 foots, right? Sometimes when I post on social media, and I don't post as much now because I feel that too many people are posting the same stuff. I was pushing these new ideas and everything, and people think all I do is big, giant organics and complicated. No, like our money, and I'm proud to say this, is simple, classic decor. And this is where Balloon Pro, which we haven't spoken about at all,
yeah,
came to be, is because I can then quickly create mock-ups of the simple stuff, the columns, the arches. We do heaps of VM visual merchandising work. I think that's probably the bread and butter of our income source. Retail is a little add-on. We're there anyway, as I said. The
right,
gifts that we deliver, the small gifts, personalized and customized that get delivered around Australia, it will now just Sydney, is 15%. It's not huge, but it adds, we're there anyway. Like I'll do a delivery on my way home, right? Who cares? But it is the corporate stuff. This afternoon I'm doing just a 7 meter organics, at the end of the day, and $800, or it's,
yeah,
it's who you need to me anyway. You need to be in everything business. You can't say no to corporate.
right, of course. Okay, so for the sake of time, I do want to get to your balloonpro.co, right?
Mm-hmm.
What uh we'll talk about what it is, but I want to know like what got you to create it to begin with.
Yeah, cool. And thanks for bringing it up. Obviously, it's something I'm very, very passionate about. So let's start with how I created it. I was sitting at a class 10, 12 years ago with Colin Stewart from Canada, and great guy. He's really pushed the industry forward so much. He did so many things. Cloudbusters, for instance, he was one of the first guys that they really pushed that as a medium. And he was doing a class on 6-inch links, right? Qualitex quick links. And he was showing the method of designing with them with a piece of paper, and it had the outline of the template of hollowed out links, vertical and horizontal grids, and you color it in with your crayons, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is 2012 or whatever it was. Like there's technology, the tech we have has been out a very long time. Like I for instance, created, it was called, what was the software? I forget now, but anyway, I created a piece of software back in 1999 where you could color in digitally and turn on different types of table centerpieces, and then turn on an arch in the background, and you could change the venue, and it was like visual, and customers can go in and change colors, and this stuff, right? We shouldn't be. This is the best of the best. This is how we did it. So it made me think, just like you guys had with the Balloon Guild, this spark was sort of, just embedded in your psyche, right? And so I went home and I created an Excel spreadsheet, and I made all of the cells a square, right? The column and the width being the same. And you'd color it in to design, the number 8, right? Whatever, with links, call it. And then there was a formula that would count the cells of the color red, and then it would count the cells of the color black, or whatever. So to give you a stock order for the design, and then you can sort of follow that. And then it was sort of a service-seeking platform called elance.com. And I posted on there, I was getting lots of other things done with my own business and balloons.com and all that at the time. So I said, can someone turn this into a web-based application? Right?
Yeah.
And this guy put his hand up, and I paid him several thousands of dollars just because I was really, really into it.
Yeah.
And he created something that just blew my mind. I'm like, that is cool, right? Which was about maybe 1/20th of what Balloon Pro is today. So we kept chatting, and it was just purely for interest's sake. I had no idea what it would be, right? And I spent a huge amount of money over the years and time. You guys know what it's like. If you want to do anything, you want to achieve anything, you just got to sort of follow some sort of a small remnants of a hunch and see what happens. But you got to do it in your own hours. I was getting home after a big 10-hour day. I give the kids a kiss. I've got a now 13-year-old and 11-year-old girl and a boy. And, just on that, by the way, my wife's a casual teacher, but she managed to have good 10 years just being an at-home mum, and to do that in this business and to be able to buy your own home and to do something that you love and also be able to have the life for your kids and your wife and everything that to me was just exactly what we wanted. We're very, very blessed, but I've had to work my ass off, right? So to do all these extra side hustles, or the visual merchandising quotes and all the spreadsheets and all that stuff, you got to do it at night, right? And I've gone from 7-day weeks for 10 years to 6-day weeks for the last 6 years, and I'm just doing 5-day weeks now, and I'm getting 5-6 weeks leave a year, but I'm still working on my ass off when I'm home. When I'm here, right? And we were chatting in January, and I was pissing you off because you're like, "Come on, man, we're going to talk about this stuff," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm on holidays." All right, but anyway, I was working hours at night, just back and forward with this developer, spending lots of my money, and we got something, and I gave it away for free. I just wanted people to use it. This is probably 5 years ago now, and then I thought, let's try and get it in a subscription somehow after 2 years, because I kept developing and I wanted to keep developing it. And I thought, well, I should try and get some money back. And then at the same time, I had a whole bunch of YouTube videos, which I had then created some full length, organic series of paid videos. And it was a bit gobbledygook, if is that an expression in the US?
I've heard of it.
All right. A bit all over the place. COVID hit us and I had a lot more spare time, as we all did. So I amalgamated them all into what is now balloonpro.co. And very, very proud of it. And I love seeing an email pop up that a new user has subscribed to the 7-day free trial. And I get a few of them a day. And it melts. I love it. I love just sort of reading. I'm like, where are they from? All around the world, like Mexico and Brazil and US and, Asia. And I just love that somehow people have stumbled upon it. And if they pay, wonderful. But the fact that they just used it and gave it a go and know of it. The thing that just really uplifts me is to see when people show how it's been successful, how a digital render or some sort of a design through the software has helped propel their business. And you guys here, of course, about that, how the work that you do is helping people. And this, the whole teaching is a whole nother thing we haven't even got into, but through my YouTube videos, people then said, hey, this guy's put his hand up. He's out there and showing us what he's doing. I'm going to ask him a question. And to me, that was a great honor for someone to ask me something and a responsibility, right? Someone's out there and they're quite vulnerable in putting themselves out there. Please, can you help? Right. Yeah. To me, it's a responsibility to reply as best as I can. And that was many, many, many years ago. And I got energized by that, as I do now with Balloon Pro and whenever I teach, which is less now, of course, with since the ashes of COVID. But it's wonderful to be able to share, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, oh man, we just don't really have as much time. And this is,
yeah,
we feel this
sorry.
way all the time. No, it's cool. I would love to show everybody what your website is all about, but we don't really have time for that. So
they can go on
balloonpro.co.
Yeah, they can go on. There's YouTube tutorials. There's tutorials on the homepage. Some of the stuff. What's that, Fudge?
I was like, Chris, if you're okay with it, when I get back to my house, I'd be more than happy to go through and show myself using it as I make some recipes for the Balloon Guild. And maybe that would be good. And maybe you can see that and tell me what I'm missing and fill in some stuff too. I think that would be great for everybody.
Cool, man. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I definitely want to make sure that we mention the Balloon Pro, but I think it's more important for this conversation to get to know Chris Adamo, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
This is why John and I get confused with being the same person all the time, because what I was going to say is we might do a separate Zoom where we can use it and you don't have to be on it just for your own time, but we can just do an open
Mhm.
Zoom. Anybody can join in if they're just curious and we can use the program. But John just said he's going to do it. So that's on your plate, John,
Cool.
not on mine. So it's all you. Uh,
And look, if anyone has any questions as well, between then and then, if there's a specific project they're working on or technically something, because there's so much to it that even if I had an hour, I wouldn't be able to show you all of it.
Right.
And anyone watching along would not be able to absorb all of it. Like it's the kind of thing you need to click around and,
Sure.
but if you don't know of the thing, there might be this one button you never noticed.
Well, and you've
Then it's
added
difficult,
stuff too. You've added a lot since
Yeah,
even when I first got onto it. Because now you can change the
yeah,
size of the
yeah.
balloons and stuff like that, which I don't think was there.
Yeah. My next edition will be heaps more colors with generic color names. But then also the next big thing, I really feel that the missing piece of the puzzle here is sizing, right? So, and also the construction method. So we can all design digitally now, right? Ish.
Right.
But then how do I then get given a brief? It needs to be a certain amount of feet, tall, high, whatever. How do I build to size? But then also what's some pointers for the build process itself? So that's my to-do list this year, hopefully.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to give people a chance if they have questions to be able to ask them. But before we do, I like to ask you 20 bullet fire questions.
Yeah.
And then if people have questions, what we do with the questions is you can let us know that you want to ask one. And then whenever you have the chance, we want to know something that you're grateful for. Tell us your name. So tell us your name, what you're grateful for, and then ask Chris whatever question you have in that
Cool.
order.
Can
Okay.
I add as well there, Jonathan, just before we start, the because it's a process, I know there's time left to go. But the one thing that actually I'm most proud of, like just quickly just to finish, like the dot point, the end of that chapter, is the TV show,
I
right?
was going
So
to ask you about that, like how
yeah,
that came
yeah.
about. Let's just go for it.
Because people might not know,
Yeah.
and I think it's really important to not to brag or anything, but to just to go, where can we get to in this industry, right?
Sure.
Just as a case study. So we got the teaching and the this and the Balloon Pro and the online and this like wonderful diverse sort of experience, which I'm so proud of. But then 2 years ago, I got asked to be a part of a TV show called Blow Up, which Guido Verhoef started in the Netherlands. He was the content creator of the show. The
Oh,
franchise got sold to a few countries, Germany, New Zealand, and Australia, and they're hoping, of course, for more, USA. But I got asked to be involved in the show as a consultant behind the scenes, helping with the audition process and finding the talent, the stock, the inventory, the challenges themselves, the equipment, the way the stage is designed and everything, right? And then halfway through, they're like, do you want to be the judge on the show? So this is a prime time television show on one of the top 3 Australian broadcasters.
okay.
And it had a multi-million-dollar budget. We filmed for 5 weeks. I had a green room, hair and makeup, like the whole thing. It was ridiculous. All of a sudden I find myself this balloon guy who used to scrub the flower buckets for mum with makeup on for the first time in my life. True story. With 7 cameras and this production crew of like 30 people in this professional studio, and they're like, action. Right. And unfortunately, the show didn't go too well in Australia. It hit and miss. We're up against MasterChef and all these like big shows. The scheduling was horrible, but it was an amazing experience and certainly the high point of what's possible. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that quickly.
No, that's cool. I'm glad you did. It is on my it's on my list of things to ask. I just
Okay,
wanted to
cool.
make sure. I was curious how that came about. I didn't know that Guido was the one who originally.
Yeah, I know he's very humble. He wouldn't tell anyone unless you asked. But that guy, what that guy's done for this industry is unfathomable.
For sure.
Yeah. All
Okay,
right.
so we like to time this section.
Okay.
Originally we thought let's 20 questions in 2 minutes. It's not
Yep.
happened that way yet so far. So I'm going to time it just
That's
for
quick.
funsies. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I think right now like 2 minutes and 20 seconds is the record. And this is me.
Okay. Well, I think I've proven that I can talk.
Yeah.
We're not gonna
Okay.
do it.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Your favorite music?
Like genre? I'm gonna say
Sure.
like blues and roots. Van
All right.
Harper, Bob Dylan. Yeah.
Favorite food?
Food group, Asian or Italian. I have a wood-fired pizza oven. Let's say pizza.
Okay. Dessert.
Ice cream. It's my Achilles
Podcast.
heel.
Yep.
What was the
Podcast.
last one?
Favorite
Oh,
podcast.
Dan Carlin, Hardcore History, without a doubt.
Okay. I'll come back on that one. Favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption, like
Oh, right
everyone
on.
else on IMDb.
Sure. What was your favorite toy you had as a kid?
Oh God. I had this like Paddington Bear teddy, like when I was really, really little with like the yellow wellies. I don't know
Yeah.
why that
Okay.
came to mind. No one's ever
Oh,
asked me that
wow.
question.
All right. What did you want to be when you grew up? Normally when you were a kid.
Um, an entrepreneur. Weird, right?
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I
No,
was a weird kid.
no,
Yeah,
it's all
didn't
good.
matter. Yeah.
What did you do for extracurriculars when you were in school, in primary school?
Like sports or other.
Sure, whatever.
I still play soccer, right?
Okay.
Right. To this day, I've played since I was 10. You know, I play twice a week right now.
All right.
But I played, like swimming and rowing and blah blah blah. But probably like woodworking as a hobby. Like I've got a big shed downstairs. Love working with my hands. Yeah.
Sure. Inspirational book recommendation.
Oh God. Well, I nothing else is coming to mind. There's so many good books because I do listen to audiobooks monthly. But I would say backtracking Robert Kiyosaki's Rich
Yeah.
Dad Poor Dad because it started this journey.
Yeah.
But if you give me time, I can give you some heaps better ones.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. All right. Organic versus classic. If you had to pick one.
Organic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still love organic more than
All right.
others. Yeah.
Weirdest job you've ever had.
But I'm going to backtrack to that, right? I'm going to say technical, right? You didn't give me that third option, right? So
Yeah.
we're talking like linking duplets, like large sculptures, which is
Sure.
not either of them. But yeah, what was the last question?
Weirdest job.
We've had to like install in like brothels and like weird stuff,
Okay.
which is PG, but still
Yeah.
just like ooh,
All
yeah.
right. Favorite holiday.
Fiji. There's nothing
Okay.
better than snorkeling in the coral in tropical
Yeah.
paradise.
Your favorite theme for balloons.
Weirdly enough, this is not quite a theme, but I love white backdrops, right? Like clouds, walls, whatever,
Sure.
that have lighting associated to
Okay.
it. Like we're talking
Yeah.
about this stuff. So I got into it quick, and this is ruining the time limit. Digital video projection masking, right?
Oh,
Onto
yeah.
balloons, right? So
Yeah, that's
interactivity, perhaps. That's not a theme, but yeah.
Oh, I get it. I dig it. Okay, if you could meet one person of all time ever, who would it be? Spend time with them.
Um, Gandhi.
Okay. If
Do
you
they have
could,
to be alive?
no, I said of all time. If you
Okay.
had one superpower, what would it be if you could pick it?
That I do have, or
If you could choose any superpower.
to have memory. My memory is horrible. This is my biggest weakness.
All
Yeah.
right. If you could
But
know
but on that, I think it actually breeds creativity. You keep forgetting how you did something. You got to reinvent the wheel time and time
Yeah.
again.
Yep. If you could know the date you were going to die, would you want to know?
No, no way.
Okay. If you could spend, I mean, you already answered this, I think. Spend a day anywhere, where would it
I already
be?
answered this.
Well,
Spend a day.
yeah, if you could just spend a day somewhere, anywhere you want to go.
Where would it be?
Yeah.
Antarctica.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say
Yeah.
Fiji again.
No,
Okay.
I've already spent plenty of days there.
All right. What would be your
Antarctica bucket list.
spirit animal?
Dolphin. That's what I've got. You can't really see it, but this guy
Oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
dolphin.
If you could give
I
one,
always see them. I was swimming with one a couple of weeks ago. It was amazing.
one piece of advice to your old self, what would it be?
Um, I yeah, it took me 10 years to go to my first balloon convention. Right. I
Okay.
was just I didn't tell us part of the story. I was just a businessman with basic stuff, just running a retail store. The first convention I went to started the whole creative process,
Oh, right
and
on.
what I called, the golden age. And I wish I did it earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Last most important question. What Harry Potter house would you be in?
um, I don't know. I've Gryffindor. I don't know why.
Okay.
Why? Yeah.
All right. We are
How do we
rocking
go for time?
5 minutes and 8 seconds.
That was me going so quickly, dude.
It's all good, man. It's all
I
good.
was feeling terrible. Like I wasn't
I know
elaborating
those
on every
questions
bloody
are all
question.
over the place. They're kind of meant to be that way, and they're
That's good.
peppered
I like
between
that. That's good.
silly questions and some kind of deep ones in there. All right, so I don't know if we have any questions from everybody else. If you guys want,
Hello, everybody else, by the way. I haven't even noticed that there's other
yeah,
people.
I need to change my view. I think there's a way you can put your
I can see a
hand
few
up.
people now. Thank you for
I want
joining.
to pop in real quick and say thank you so very much for stopping in and chatting with us and giving us the time that you have today.
My pleasure. I love you guys. Yeah.
I've talked to you before. Obviously, I've met you before. We know each other, but I love these interviews that Gerber's been putting on because he's asking questions that I would never think of. And
Yep.
I just love getting to know this stuff. And I didn't realize how much you and I have in common that we're going to be talking about at Float coming up. So
Yeah.
super
All
excited
right. Good.
about that. And
You know what? I can't wait because I'm not teaching at Float, and I
Oh,
can actually relax and hang out and enjoy and not run around doing 8
sounds
million
like we
things.
can
I'm
get a
so
drink.
excited.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Bloody
let's
hell
get to
yeah.
chat and talk. Be happy about that. So I
Yeah.
actually called elsewhere because I was a over ambitious today and booked very many things all at the same time. But I'm gonna leave this up and let Mr. Gerber close it out when he's ready. But I just want to say thank you very much for all this. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
man. I can't wait to see you again. Thanks for popping by and having me. Cheers.
Yeah.
Look at that. See that image there? That we just had it back in time 10 years quickly.
Yep. So Kelly
Fudge.
Noble said she is also from Sydney, Australia.
I did not know that, Kelly. Well, what suburb?
I'm at Wallachia, near Warragamba, near the bottom, near the base of the Blue Mountains.
Okay. Oh, very good. Very good. Excellent. Are you going to be afloat?
No, but I am
No.
going to the big balloon build in Indiana.
Oh, wow. You know what?
So my daughter and
My
I are both going.
awesome. My
I'm
dream
so
is to
excited
have a
to
big
see
balloon build in
you.
Australia.
Sorry? Yeah,
My
to have
dream is
one
to have
here.
one in Australia.
Maybe we
Yeah.
should work on that together because that's
Yep.
one of my dreams too.
Yep. Stuart Davies has been hounding me for a long time now to get involved, and there's something coming to be recently that I really hope will make that happen. So fingers
That'd be
crossed. And I
awesome.
want to make it like Oceania, Asia, and not just Australia. So fingers crossed.
I would love to be part of that.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, let me know how you go in Indiana.
Thank you.
Cool.
Were there any
I
other
have a quick
questions?
question for you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you have something to say, Gerber? I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
but remember gratitude and then the question.
Okay. Well, I'm grateful that Kelly's going to be at my big balloon build. That's very exciting. My question for you, Chris, has to do with your Balloon Pro Co program. Is that something we
Yep.
should ask now, or can I direct that to you a different way?
I'm happy with Jonathan.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Well, when I create something and I save it, I was taught to save it as an SVG, but then when I want to go back and edit it again later, it won't come up for me. I get an error message. Tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, as soon as you said the word "and save it," I knew exactly what question you're about to ask.
Okay.
and I knew right away that you're just unfortunately not saving it as the right file, right? So the file type that's editable, which is the file type that is associated with the software itself, is a .json file. So if you're in there, click File, Save, not Export. Currently, you're exporting it as an SVG, but under File, there's Load, and then there's Save. So if you click that save button, it'll offer it as a .json file, and that is the one you can load within. So the export functions, those three options that it exports to, is a graphical file, which is essentially just like bitmap. It's dots, you know, for a different format, which unfortunately is not editable. But it's the .joson file is not something that a client or anybody else can look at unless they're using Balloon Pro. So when I create software, and we've created some stuff for the Balloon Guild, some designs, I've exported both graphically so you can see what it is, but then also would save the original working file. So you can have that and load it and change the colors and make any edits and changes.
Excellent.
Yeah. So give that a
Excellent. I
go.
went ahead and gave that a try as you were talking, but the file comes up as just gibberish. It doesn't.
Yeah. Well, you can't open it by itself. If you try and open it from your like Mac or your PC as like by itself, you have to load it within. So you go back to Balloon Pro and then you click File Load. That's how it works.
Perfect. Thank you for that. That's an easy fix. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. But the reason why this is not software installed on your computer, if it was, the computer would recognize what the file is. So this is a web-based software, so you have to always go within the web to load and save.
Thank you for that.
Cool, my pleasure. It's a common problem, so obviously we need to sort of work out how the wording and everything, because it's not just you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, now that I know that, Chris, you had told me just right before this, I'm going to try to see if I can put those JSON files on the Balloon Guild for the recipes that you've submitted to us.
Please, yeah.
So that everybody will have those, so they can take the last one you've given, which I haven't put up there yet, is a guitar. That way someone could take that guitar and go and just change the colors real quick. Make it whatever they want. So
excellent.
I've never seen
wouldn't it be great if
styles.
we could then know the inflation size to give you the finished build size?
For sure.
That's the holy grail.
Yep. So that would have prevented me from creating a 13-foot tall bunny when I was trying 7-foot tall, and I got way too far along, and I'm like, in it now, so I'm just gonna finish this recipe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's awesome. Any other questions? I don't want to keep Chris too long early in the morning before.
No problem at all.
So I really appreciate your time.
No, thanks for having me. Like I said, I'm a big fan of you and a big fan of the Balloon Guild. I think it's wonderful what you guys are doing, and it's only going to benefit the industry and the products and the work that we as an industry will create. And if there's more photos of great work, then a customer is going to call me sometime and say, "Hey, can you do this?"
Yeah, that's
right?
one of the goals. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, it doesn't look like there are. I appreciate you so much, Chris. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for the recipes that you've given to the guild. They're pretty nice, and
cool.
They're going to be easy to follow. And we will do what I said. I think we're going to just do an open Zoom that will record for people, and we'll play around with your website just to introduce people. We're not going to teach them anything because I don't know enough about it. Teach it, but they'll at least get to see what it can do a little bit, which maybe will intrigue them enough to do a free trial and go from there.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Sure.
But for those who will or won't, I'm an open book. Please contact me anytime, any questions about anything. Like maybe not necessarily life, but balloon related.
Yeah.
I'm better at that.
All right, man. Well, God bless
Thanks,
you.
Chris.
You have a
See
good
you guys.
day.
Thanks so much. Bye.